chose their king, their power was met, but we don't answer to Ottawa yet. No crown gave us what we've earned, just dirt and fire and lessons learned. Now the ground it shakes, the steel it groans, and Alberta walks alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free. From the rigs to the rails, the crops to the code, we lit their streets, we bore their load. They laughed at pride, they mocked the West, but freedom don't die, it just waits for the test. The cowboys ride, the farmers rise, 5 million strong under open skies. No leash, no lie, no foreign throne. This land is steel and it stands alone. We ride sovereign steel through fire, through frost. We ain't the last, we're the line they lost. Alberta stands, never on its knees. A nation born in the forge of the free.
Welcome. It's 7-Eleven Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl. I am so excited to be here. This is a special broadcast because I have a special guest, a first-time guest joining me. I was taking a little bit of a break, but we need to have this guy on when he shows up. So we are going to have an awesome show, and I'm glad that you're here. Make sure to share this out. Get more eyeballs on this information. We need to wake more people up. You know what to do. Get it out there. Get them to wake the heck up. Anyway, I am so grateful to be here. What an extraordinary time to be alive. I'm so honored to be able to be here with you. And as we head into the Christmas season, obviously, and the new year, it is an extraordinary time to be alive. And I'm so grateful to a number of things, one of them being God for giving us this opportunity, another for my circle of friends and family and the challenges that we faced over the last 5 years, especially because it has refined and honed who we are and made us into the beings that we are, leading into this amazing time of Alberta sovereignty that we're going to be heading towards. So that's going to be part of our subject, obviously, tonight is Alberta sovereignty. My guest is Jason Levine. We'll get to him in just 1 second, but on top of having him here, I also want to say thank you to my local businesses that I love to support. One of them being nuggetstacker.com, because this is it's always a good time to buy gold and silver. And I'm not your investment advisor, but I do suggest holding gold and silver in your hand. And if you're paying attention, I'm just going to take a quick peek at it. Oh my gosh, we were at $99 an ounce is a spot price. That is extraordinary. Approximately a $22 increase in the last 30 days. So anyway, it's always a good time to buy gold and silver. And you can look at nuggetstacker.com. Go right through my website at unscrewthenews.com. Go down to the logo and click on it for a bit of a discount. All right, we're going to get right into this unscrewing the news business. I'm coming to you from the heart of the battle-ready nation of Alberta. We bring you truth and optimism. Our goal is to break free from the media globalist mind control. It is December 23rd, 2025. This is episode number 241. I have Jason Levine, and I call this Alberta Warrior. So I want to welcome Jason Levine. He is a podcaster, an author, an ex-paralegal in Ontario, and a homesteader, which I really, really appreciate. And we'll have to have another conversation about that in the near future. But he describes himself as a husband and a father. I think he is. That is definitely the basis of Jason Levine. But I find him to be an extraordinary person. He has a great podcast called The Levine Show, and I want to welcome him on Unscrew the News. Thank you very much for joining me, sir. It is a pleasure to have you. Oh, sorry. Hang on 1 second. I muted you. Stand by. There you are.
It's a pleasure as well, Bruce. Thank you very much for having me. Even when I'm muted, I'm enjoying being on your show.
Well, you had a bit of a little bit of a power hiccup. And so when you came back on, I thought, oh, geez, I'm just going to mute him just in case he happens to swear or something.
No,
but
that's not in my vocabulary. But yes, when you're off grid and you have to run a generator this cold as well, sometimes you have to give it an extra little bit of love to get it started.
that's
But
right.
we're up and
That's
running
right.
and we're good to go.
Well, it is such a pleasure to have you. I know that we got a chance to talk at the Alberta UCP AGM, and you obviously, we are heading in towards this Alberta sovereignty, the petition, then to get a referendum. I know that we're building an excitement, and it really is an extraordinary time. Anyway, you were having some great meetings, and I really wanted to have you on to sort of decipher what you were discussing with. I think it was. Oh shoot! Now I forgot his name, but Amory. So Mickey
Yes.
Amory, and then you had the gentleman,
Bruce,
the
Bruce Party.
Bruce Party. Thank you so much for
Bruce, you forgot his
coming
first name, did you?
in. No, I just forgot. I was thinking Parker for some reason, but it was Party. Anyway, yeah, I was hoping that we could discuss a bit of what you guys talked about, Castle Law, obviously Bill 14, and we also have to bring up, because you have an event that you have put together and it looks fantastic. You have some great guests coming up, and I want to make sure that people get a chance to also consider going to that on January 10th. I think is the event, right?
Yes, January 10th. It's a Saturday. It'll be in Red Deer for the afternoon. Doors open at 1, and we should be closing up around 6:30 or so with 8 fantastic speakers on various subjects about fundamental truth, because we kind of have to get back to the fundamental truth, and also remembering to everybody that we have faith in the future. No matter what happens with the referendum, we still have a life to live. So come
Yeah.
check that event out in Red Deer.
All right. So I want to take everybody back, because my viewers might not know you, and I'm just learning a bit about you, before we hit record. Is that during COVID, you realized that you needed to make a change as far as your family was concerned, and that's why you ended up in this fantastic province of Alberta. Is that right?
Yeah, so before moving to Alberta, I was living in Eastern Ontario, near a town called Alexandria, which is halfway between Ottawa and Cornwall. And we were living on a homestead there as well, but it was a very small 1 acre homestead. We used up all the land with the garden and the kids, and there's not much there when you only have 1 acre, including the house.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get a lot more space, and we were not pleased with Doug Ford. I guess you can call him King Ford, because he was reaching out to my cell phone and telling me to go home when I was going to get gas for the barbecue. And we weren't pleased with the school system, and there was a lot of strikes going on.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to see what the at-home education was looking like, and we decided to homeschool our kids at that point as well. So homeschooling, homesteading, we really wanted to expand that. And Ontario is not a place to buy lots of land, but
Yeah.
Alberta definitely was calling to us for the freedom, for our life, the future for our boys, and also for the ability to have a lot more land and work it. So that's why we attracted to Alberta and
Wow.
made that move in the spring of 2021.
Yeah, right in the height, and you were obviously awake enough to realize that you wanted a better life for your
Mhm.
whole family, and isn't that the crux of why why we're doing what we're talking about here as far as sovereignty is concerned? It really is about, a generational wealth. It's generational success and prosperity and freedom. It, do you have anything else to add to that? Is what else are you thinking that we need to
No, you
accomplish?
bring up a really good point because before having my children, I had a different mindset. And my mindset was to enjoy life, try and get the most out of it with my wife and myself. But when you have children, you start to think for the next generation and generation after that as well. And I wasn't pleased with the direction Canada was going, even when we were in Ontario. Very concerned about homeschooling being cracked down. And this is some of the reasons why Alberta became very attractive to us. But you're right. As soon as we had children, and they're both 9 and 11 now, that's when the life change happened because you start thinking way down the line,
Yeah.
way past the next month or even the next year. You start thinking about the great grandchildren and grandchildren and then your children. So you're right. And that's kind of the catalyst behind everything I do now. I'm always thinking about how I can better their lives, provide something for them, and make sure that when they leave the nest and do their own thing, they have all the skills and strength and also opportunities that I enjoyed as well when I was growing up.
Well, I guess that's the basis of why I wanted to have you on, is talking about the opportunities that we want to afford our children. And you know what, we want to afford these opportunities to everyone, even if they, slander us and call us crazy names on the internet, or they don't like what you have to say about Alberta independence, or Jeffrey Rath, or the Alberta Prosperity Project. It doesn't really matter, because what we want to better is the whole province, not just, our side of that province, right?
Well, the province, or you can say prosperity, because
Yeah.
whether we continue to be a province or we become a nation, it's a prosperity that's common between both of those. And it's a prosperity that Alberta should be able to enjoy, given the God given riches of the place that we live, the resources that we have access to, the opportunity to have a prosperous future that we have. Unfortunately, we're under the thumb of a lot of regulation, laws, and the ire of Ottawa. So, whether we become a more sovereign province or become a nation, prosperity is what we need to be focused on. And I think that's the opportunity that we have facing us right now. All we
Yeah.
got to do is take the step to go ahead and make that happen.
Okay, so I want to get into your discussion with Mickey Emery and Bruce Party. What were the if you were to summarize sort of what you saw happening in your discussion, um, would you be able to sort of summarize what came out of that discussion?
My pleasure. So the first half of the interview was about how and what mechanisms Honorable Amory would be able to use as the Attorney General of Alberta to go ahead and recategorize lawful gun ownership, Ottawa's attempt to seize them and ban them, and also castle doctrine or self-defense. What can Alberta do when we're under a criminal code on the federal level? Because Alberta can't change the criminal code.
Right,
But what
right.
can we do on the Alberta level, the provincial level, in order to ensure that legal gun owners are safe from prosecution, especially if they have to defend themselves or their lives or their property? So the first half was about that. And the second half was about the bill he introduced, Bill 14, which is now passed and is now law, which modified several parts of the Alberta statutes, specifically around the Referendum Act, the Citizens Initiative Act, and a couple more acts. So asking him why he made these changes and what kind of barriers could there be for independence as we move forward, because when he modified those bills, he kind of switched some things around, moved in the contravening of the Constitution a little bit down the process, down the line a little bit. So we had some pretty poignant questions for him and held his feet to the fire in order to understand the thinking behind it, the legal thinking behind it, and have him justify it to us. And I got to be very thankful to Honorable Amory because he was open, he was honest. He didn't ask us for questions ahead of time. He didn't provide us any no goes. We just simply sat down and had a conversation amongst the three of us. And I was pleased with the openness that he provided, but not
Yeah.
necessarily fully pleased with all the answers or the realities of the situation. Because,
Well, I was
yeah,
Sorry, I was going to say that because the parts that I did listen to, I didn't feel like he was giving us solid, concrete. Yeah, you know what? You're going to be able to own your gun. It's not going to be a problem. I didn't feel that at all from that conversation. So, how do you feel about it now? And are we to feel comfortable about not being thrown in jail for owning a firearm?
Well, I would say what I feel about it is Honorable Amory made a really good argument to leave Canada because what he talked about was the restraints that he's under as Attorney General
Right.
under the Canadian system. Because it's a Canadian criminal code, we don't get to make the law. We don't even get to vote on it. It's done in the Parliament, and the regulations are sometimes done in the Order in Council. He made a great argument without realizing it, I'm sure, of why we shouldn't be under that system because we can't even make decisions like, well, we're not going to give up legal gun ownership. We're not going to hand over our legal firearms. We can't even make those decisions when, on a provincial level, we should be able to. Private property does fall under the jurisdiction of the province.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, as he laid out in that interview, the Supreme Court has made it clear that when it comes to firearms, criminal code, that's federal. So that was a great argument, I think, for leaving the Canadian system and becoming our own independent country, nation, because we would then be able to make those kind of decisions like a state would in the United States. They can make a
Sure.
decision on that level, but we can't under the current system. So he did the best he could with what he had, and he's using all the mechanisms that he can under our current system and the Supreme Court decisions. So we'll give him a the tip of our hat to him on what he could do, he did do in order to improve our lives and our ownership here. But I think it made for a great argument on why we shouldn't be in Canada anymore, because we should be able to be law-abiding gun owners and be able to protect our property.
You're right. I mean, this is this is a perfect example of why we need to have Alberta independence and our sovereignty, so we can create the rules how we like.
Mhm.
And there's going to be some people that are going to complain about, you don't really need to own a gun if you're not doing anything wrong. What do you have to say to those arguments? Really, I mean, it's constant, but it's just ridiculous, I think. But anyway, what do you have
Well,
to say to that?
I got to respond to that because we saw that in Australia. So Australia is a jurisdiction that basically has made legal gun ownership near impossible. Very few of their citizens are armed. And
Yeah.
sadly, when we saw that terrorist attack happen on the beaches of Australia, I assure you that if any of the people that were taking video had a firearm, that situation would have been addressed a lot sooner. That those perpetrators and terrorists would have been stopped. And that's
Hmm.
what happens when you have what I would call a soft target citizenship when they're not armed, and the bad people are, and they're not listening to the laws. And no time did it cross a terrorist's minds. Ooh, I'm going to get in trouble for owning this
Yeah.
firearm. So they don't follow the law. So they're not law abiding anyways. So we saw an example there. The UK, we see this all the time. Even the police there are assaulted because they don't actually carry firearms with them when they're on the street. So we see this all the time. And in Canada, fortunately for us so far, we haven't had a major incident like that. But if you disarm citizens and you let the bad people know we don't carry firearms, we can't protect ourselves, you're just opening the door for a lot more trouble. You saw in Toronto where the police chief said to the residents
Oh my
there,
gosh. Oh
go
my
ahead
gosh.
and put your key fobs by the front door and leave your door unlocked
Yeah.
because all they want is your vehicle. They'll leave you alone. Or when you have an intruder come into your house with a crossbow, as we saw in Ontario as well, you'll get in trouble if you go ahead and defend yourself. So when you start doing those kind of things, you're just encouraging the criminal activity to continue and get more violent because what's the deterrent? They don't have a deterrent. If they break into your house, you could be in trouble. They can sue
Yeah.
you and you're
Yeah.
likely not armed. So when you start doing that, I think you're encouraging a less safe society. And I got to tell you, again, with the birth of my children, there's very little I wouldn't do to protect them. So I definitely going to fight to make sure that I have all the tools and rights available to go ahead and protect myself, my family, and my property.
Amen to that. Um, I just wanted to say one thing about the Australia thing because I think it's a prime example again of why we want sovereignty or why we need sovereignty for our children. Is that not only did Australia disarm their people? I think it was 1996. I can't remember the exact date. but they disarmed their people then. But they cracked down even more after the Bondi Beach, saying that they need to now crack down and take all the guns, and they need to remove all the guns even more at this point. The tyranny will continue, and until people, say otherwise. So that's what I see happening here in Canada. It's the gun removal, even though that minister is a complete joke, will, I'm sure, be pushed forward, and Alberta will be under the thumb unless we do something about it.
Yeah, so to fully answer your question, I think Honorable Amory made some great arguments on why we should get out from the current Canadian system.
Right.
Criminal code's not working for everybody. And when you're focused on Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, or heavily urban areas, it makes a little bit less sense to go after firearms for the rural areas. We have different lifestyles. There's different concerns here. The police could take up to an hour to get to you. And as Honorable Amory mentioned, part of the mitigating factors of his guidelines that he provided to the Crown's office is how far away from a police response are you? How remote are you? Because these are considerations when you've got to protect yourself. You are your own law out here in the rural areas. The police are not a couple minutes away. They are 20, 40, sometimes 60 minutes away. So to be able to protect yourself is vital. It could be, life-saving for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on, because I know that the time is short. We both want to get back to our families because it's a critical time to be with our families. But Bill 14, obviously, Bruce Party and you and Mickey Amory were talking about Bill 14 and how that's going to, I guess it removed some of the barriers in regard to the petition. And then once we have the petition, then moving on to the referendum. Is that essentially what Bill 14 did?
Well, one of the pieces of it, because there's several parts to it, but one of the major pieces that got everybody's attention was removal of Section 2.4 out of the Citizens Initiative Act, which was the requirement for the question to not contravene the Constitution, specifically Sections 1 through 35.1, which included treaties and the entire Charter. And as we saw at Justice Feesby's decision, he decided that the simple act of leaving Canada would contravene the Constitution because it wouldn't be carried forward. Just you would have your own Constitution. And that was basically the basis of his decision was, of course, you're going to contravene it if you're going to have your own. Now, Honorable Amory and Premier Smith both made statements as soon as the Chief Electoral Officer sent that question to the courts that wasn't the intent of that section. That section wasn't intended to stop an independence referendum. And as Honorable Amory clarified on the interview with Bruce Party and myself, the intent of that section was to stop other types of questions popping up that would contravene the Constitution, but not necessarily an independence question, because the Supreme Court has already provided via the Clarity Act the procedure for independence. Therefore, under the spirit of that particular section, it wouldn't contravene the Constitution because there is a procedure through the Supreme Court of Canada to go ahead and have secession. But he did move it to the Referendum Act. So after a successful binding referendum is done, so a yes on this particular question, and if it's a constitutional question, which means it's binding, the government that initiated the constitutional question, so that will be the UCP government, also has the option to not pursue it. But he also clarified that for independence, because there's a procedure through the Supreme Court, that wouldn't qualify. That wouldn't be something they would stop. So I gave him an example. What if there's a referendum that said, rip up all the treaties? And that was the question. And it came back as a yes. And Albertans voted to go ahead and rip up the treaties. Would that be something that he would consider not pursuing? And he said, yeah, that would be an example of something we would protect, because you can't have a majority take over the rights of a minority through a referendum. And that was the intent of that section in the Referendum Act. So he clarified that specifically the independence question isn't intended to be stopped by the government if it's successful, because there's a procedure through the Supreme Court. But any other questions that could come up that do contravene the Constitution, they may be stopped by the government with that change in the Referendum Act.
Interesting. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So, as far as independents go, do you know the steps? Are you involved with the APP as well, or are you just a member like the thousands of other people?
Well, I'm certainly a very supportive member, in that I will certainly be participating in providing my signature to ensure that this petition gets the signatures it needs. I may even be able to participate in some of the events to help out in a
Yeah,
voluntary type of way.
yeah.
But that would be the extent of it because I do want to stay independent as a journalist. I will
Mm,
report on it, and I will have conversations with all sides on this particular subject because I think it is important that we all have a well-rounded understanding of what independence could look like, the steps to get there, and especially after we get to a yes, what will the next day look like? Because Canada's never been in that position before.
yeah.
So I'm working hard at bringing that information forward, which keeps me very independent of the APP, but I certainly
Mm.
will support them as a member when it comes to my signature and any signature events if they would like me to help them on that.
That was a very paralegal way of answering that, Jason, I have to
Well,
say.
it's an honest answer too, because I would like to have been more involved with the APP. At
Yeah.
one moment, I was more involved. I was going to help them on their media relations, but I had to sit down and re-examine my show, and my show
Yes.
is my primary function, and I didn't want to overlap or even contradict what the APP is up to with my
Yeah.
show, with certain
Makes sense.
guests and certain questions. So
Yeah.
I kept that arm's length approach going, and it's worked out because I've been able to have 36 interviews and I'm working on 14 more on this subject with basically everybody that's been working on the independence question for and against. So I'm looking forward to bringing that information forward.
Well, as you say, it's so important, I think, because we've moved away from that, obviously during COVID, where they really, created a divide, and you couldn't talk to people about these things. So it is, I think, so critical to have, well, yourself and myself. I mean, I'm happy to talk to anybody, whether you're against it or for it, because we do need to have these conversations, and I need to hear when people are against the idea. Tell me why. I want to know exactly why you want to stay in Canada, uh, because it's important to hear it as well.
A great example of that would be Bruce Party when he came out a couple months ago and he released an article warning us about Section 2.4 of the Citizens Initiative Act. And he said basically the way it's written, the court is going to have to find that this question contravenes the
Mm,
Constitution and will stop it. That wasn't a popular opinion. A lot of people didn't
yeah,
like hearing
yeah.
that because they certainly wanted to just have the assumption that the court's going to approve it and we'll move forward. But that was an example of bringing a voice forward that wasn't necessarily what people wanted to hear, but it was the truth. It was a
Hmm.
very fair analysis, and as it turns out, the court did do exactly what he predicted the court would do, because he
Hmm.
wasn't looking at it from an emotional "I want a yes or no." He was looking at it from a legal standpoint, being the legal professor that he is, and he was very correct. So that's why I also brought him on with that interview with Honorable Amory, because he was also able to talk legal professor to justice minister and kind of hold his feet to the fire on some of the amendments in Bill 14. And this is the kind of conversation I think are very helpful. You may not like everything you hear, but we need to hear it. I'd rather know the truth than be surprised later. And
Hmm.
I think it was very helpful because who knows, maybe his conversation and his article helped get the current government to understand that they needed to modify and repeal that particular section, which they eventually did do. So that did open the door for the question to come forward. And we'll be doing signatures in January now, 2026.
January 11 or 12, I think, is what the date is that
12th,
we're
I
hoping
think,
to
is a
go.
date I've seen, but it's certainly going to be in January.
Yeah, that's exciting. So I know we're short on time. I want to bring up your event because I think it's critical to be talking about this event that you've got coming up, that you and your business partner, your wife, I think,
Yes.
are working very diligently to bring up. So I just got your website here, and Fundamental Truths is what it's called. Join Canada's leading voices as we confront the fundamental truths of science, law of rights, culture, and governance, charting a clearer path forward. Coming up January 10th, 2026. Can you believe it's 26,
I know.
2026? Unbelievable. All right.
Yeah, this
In Red Deer, do we want to say where it's at, or do we just Will you
Well,
find that
currently
from an
we've
email?
booked Legacy Center, which is Hope Church. But we want to make sure that we are able to bring everybody that we want to bring to this event, so our audience as well. So it's very important to go ahead and get your tickets as soon as you can, so we
Mhm.
can get some of these final numbers, because we do have the opportunity to expand the venue if we are outgrow that particular venue.
I
So
see.
the sooner people buy tickets, the sooner we know our capacity needs, the sooner we can ensure that the venue is set up. But we have several options, because if we have to move from that one to a larger one, we do have that opportunity.
And it looks like a fantastic group of minds, and obviously talking about, like you said, maybe you don't like it, but it's the truth in regard to
Mhm.
our sovereignty and getting to that point. So, um,
Yeah, and just to be clear, the main focus of this event isn't Alberta sovereignty or independence. It's to understand the fundamental truths. So, for example, Sean Buckley will be talking about administrative law and the truth around that and getting
I
back to the
see.
fundamentals. Yeah.
Hmm.
And Bruce Party will be talking about government overreach and having a smaller government. We'll have Leighton Gray talking about Indigenous issues, because the whole idea of this particular event is to be prepared for whatever path
Yep.
we take. Whether we do get independence or not, we still need to deal with some of these major problems here in Alberta and in Canada. So I hope
Yep.
people take it from that perspective. And we invite everybody to come. We'll be talking about gender. We'll be talking about economy. We'll be talking about so many fundamental issues that all Canadians and Albertans should fully understand. And then also we'll be talking about faith. So we'll have Pastor Sean Ham open the event with a prayer, and Teresa Buckley will be sharing with us some of her forward-thinking, faith-driven opportunities for us to share the message as well.
Oh, this sounds like a great event. I know I've got to check my schedule and see if I'm available to go, but I look forward to it if I can make it to the event. And God bless you for doing this. I really really am honored to have you and to have you on and talk about this, because I think, like I said before we started the show, we have got to put our differences aside and uh, just go forward. You know, we've got to push this forward. Sorry, hang on one second. Go ahead. Can we sign up for Alberta Independence online?
So to answer that question, you can go to the Alberta Prosperity Project and you can sign up to offer your signature, but everything has to be done in person. So go ahead and do that, and you'll get notified of an event near you where you can sign in person. This is much like the Forever Canada petition. Everything has to be in ink and in person. But if you sign up online, you can go ahead and be notified. So the best way to do that is the Alberta Prosperity Project. And if you want to volunteer or offer your place as a signing location, these are things you can also provide when you sign up. And you don't have to buy a membership to do this. Just go ahead and click on submit your pledge right there, the big blue button that you see on
Yeah,
the
right
on
here.
screen right now. Yeah, and that will get yourself on a list, and they will absolutely reach out to you and let you know when you can provide your signature. And if you can't make it to an event, they will come door to door to collect your signature. So go ahead and just sign up there.
I want to tell everybody, this is the one last thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands, is that the reason that we have all of these opportunities, and I'm saying the ultimate we, because I'm not really actually part of it, but we need to have them ready to go. We need to have everybody on the start line when we go, so that we
Mhm.
have we're able to achieve the numbers that we need much easier than having to scrounge and scrimp and, you know, chase down people. But if we have a million people already on the petition, we have we have a million emails that we can just send out, and people are easily approachable. It's a soft market, or it's a warm market, I guess, as a salesman you would say.
For sure. And there's 3 requirements to keep in mind. You must be 18 plus, you must be an Alberta resident, and you must be a Canadian citizen. This is just like a provincial election. Those are the 3 requirements as well. So you do have to be an adult, you have to live in Alberta, and you have to be a Canadian citizen. So if you're an Albertan who lives somewhere else, you would not qualify for this.
Mhm.
But if you want to get back before the time of the referendum itself, you certainly can do it then.
Jason, thank you so much for being here today. It is, like I said, a an immense pleasure to have a chance to talk to you and to collaborate and reach out to your viewers and my viewers and hopefully wake up more people to this opportunity. So thanks for taking the time from your family and joining me.
Thank you very much for your time as well and for having me on. I'm glad we can make it work. And make sure you have yourself a very Merry Christmas. And everybody remember, God bless.
God bless you too. If you don't mind sticking around for 10 seconds, I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience and then we'll just do a chat after. But God bless you all. If you're still watching, thank you so much for joining Unscrew the News and 7-Eleven Daily Summary with Bruce Scholl. It is an immense pleasure to have you, and I am so excited about our opportunities together. So let's keep our head on a swivel. Let's stay sane together. And this is Bruce, and I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching Unscrew the News. I appreciate your participation in freedom in Canada. Share this information and help others to wake up. God bless.